So I'm doing a little costume maintenance for Kim. I'm redoing Cerberus for her. Not that there's anything wrong with the other one. I kind of want to do a new one, right? And my prints are not the best. I mean, there's lots of issues going on here. Nothing quite fits perfectly, so there's going to be a bit of sand in. Oh, I guess that one fits okay, right? So, you know, I'm just going to put everything together and bring you along for the ride. My printer's doing weird stuff. The Z is... Let me just show you. Take you in the other room. Well, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's way easier than me trying to describe it. So here are my two main workhorse printers, right? Resin printer works like a hot damn when it works. Sometimes it doesn't, and then it's a difficult thing to deal with. This is my FDM. I'm having bed adhesion issues because the leads, since this moves back and forth, have just metal fatigued themselves off, and I'll have to resolder that. And I'm not in the mood to do that right now. But the biggest problem, let me zoom you in for a second. All right, now let's move the axis a bit here. I'm going to move my Z. See, the whole thing starts to wobble. Let me show you that again, maybe. It's going to want auto home, so hold on. All these work fine. But this is just wobbling, just a lot. I know exactly what's causing it, in theory. Okay, so the shaft isn't collinear. It's this something is binding in a weird direction, which is causing the motor to just wobble, right? To fix it, I'm going to take everything that's connected to this lead screw off and put it all back together. I'll have to indicate things and move things, and I'm just not in the mood. So I'm going to fix the print rather than reprint the print. Now, I got another printer. Let me move you over here to see this one. This is my Hypercube. My poor Hypercube. I love this printer. I put it together. I built the whole thing by hand. But I had to take it apart to get the other one working. I have another one that's just like this, that's ready to go. Just need to be wired, and there is nothing that I dislike more than wiring a 3D printer. And that's where I am with this. I have a new 32-bit board and a full touchscreen that goes to it. I walk in, I look at it, I sigh, and I walk away. It's just a little too much for me right now. But let's go back out and do some modeling, printing, that kind of thing. So this isn't going to be done today. This is just a part one. Clearly. I'm assuming I would have put that in the title. But we're just, putting things together. Making sure everything fits properly. So I modeled the whole thing myself. I didn't like any of the models out there, and Kim wanted something a little more accurate. And that phrase, something a little more accurate, from the bane of my existence. Probably most of my life. But we've got a barrel, right? Barrels are alright. Cylinders, there's 3 of them. Hammers, hammer bodies, the main gun body. Like I said, since I'm having adhesion issues, I have kind of gaps here that I'm going to have to fill in. All in all, it's not terrible. I mean, I've had to do more for worse. But, and then these, right? So it all goes together kind of like this-ish. And then the cylinders go here. And then the hammer body goes here, and it all goes together. And it's a cool looking gun, right? What we're doing today is I'm sanding everything smooth. I'm trying to get everything as easy and together as possible. Probably not finishing. Not a big deal. So step one is to glue the two bodies together. And just like this end, this tip kind of came out a little bit. Just a little bit. Right? That's enough. So I'm going to rough this up with a bit of sandpaper. And then glue everything together. Most of this is going to be, you know, edited out, I'm sure. Because nobody needs to see me sand this much stuff. Just giving the glue something to bite. Cleaned everything up. Took my clamps away. And I just need my clamps. Right back. Alright, everything's roughed up. Just using standard medium super glue, CA glue, instant glue, whatever you want to call it. Alright, we're just going to let that piece dry. You can do pretty much the same for the barrel. I originally wanted to drill a hole down here and drop in a bolt. And I still may do that. Gonna have to do that before the gun is together. Unless I press in a few. We'll come back to that thought. So these two pieces are modeled to fit together perfectly. They don't. That one does. I don't know if it's okay. They're just a little, because of the wobble in my bed, it's just a little wider than it needs to be. I could use the Dremel. I could probably just force it. Decision. I'm gonna use the Dremel, and I'm gonna embiggen just a touch the receiver side. Had the print come out perfect, I wouldn't have to do this. So, you know, proper 3D maintenance is way more important than what I'm doing now. My resin printer works perfectly. It makes almost flawless prints. And I know the question is, well then why am I not using it? Because I feel that resin is just a little more brittle than PLA. I'm gonna grab a screw clamp, I'll be right back. I have dropped resin pieces and just had them shattered. Right? And I'd hate to be at a convention, Kim in her full Vincent, and have that happen. So I use PLA instead. It's not as good detail-wise, but it's way more durable. And when I'm done with it, it'll be as good detail-wise. Should I have roughed it up first? Yep. Did I? Nope. Do I think it's going to make that big of a deal? No. Get started. Go this way. Just want even clamping force. I just want to make sure that everything is all fully secure. Smart thing to do would be to get 3 of these and put one on each barrel. which I haven't ruled out yet. I don't know if that'll even fit. Nope. That's what I'm gonna do. Top one probably doesn't need it at all, but I'm going to put it there anyway. This is the arm that causes the gun to rotate. I am not gluing this yet because I want to make sure it can fit, this part can fit over the hammer body. So these get glued last after I've tested fit, because I'm probably going to have to, again, sand these a little more, knock them out a bit, make everything fit just a little better. Kim's is very pressure fit, so even without the retaining bolt, it'll stay there, and then when we move it, it stays that way. The problem with the gun is there's no way to lock it in the closed position. So, yeah, it is what it is. I'm going to sand these pieces, glue them together. Fortunately, this does not have any real way to clamp. Just kind of have to hold it. I suppose I could put a clamp right there. I have taper rubber bands. Either would work. Let's see if I can find some tape. There we go. A little bit of tape. Now we're, I should probably glue the hammer bodies together. Sure, why not? Certainly hope I'm bright enough to remember to edit out these tape sounds, or I will have destroyed the ears of the one person who watches my videos. I know it's more than one, but not much. We'll let that dry. So, we're at that point. Glue's got to do its thing. I'm going to give this about an hour to do whatever it needs to do. So I will see you in about an hour. Glue's had time to dry. I'm just going to hit everything with the Dremel all along the seams. Just try and even everything up a little bit. Just make it nice and neat. Let's see where we get. These just barely don't fit. I have to decide whether I'm going to leave it snug like this and use it as a spring, or if I'm going to sand it a little more. Sand it a little more. Just a little. So this is going to be now is sanding, fitting, sanding, fitting, sanding, fitting. Almost there. I think that is going to be as good as we can get this one. Nice thing about PLA is you can just cut it with a utility knife. Don't have to worry about it shattering on you or doing anything weird. I said I'm only going to glue the first 3/4. And I'm using the last quarter as a spring. See what we can do with the hammer body. I'm trying to remember how this goes together. The last one I made was a couple of years ago. It's been a while. So if I glue all these together, they line up with these slots in the back. Pretty sure that's how it's supposed to be. I guess it all lines up perfect when I do it this way. So that's the way it's supposed to be. So it kind of moved on me when I glued it. I expected it to. But it's not that big of a deal. This piece gets glued on right here. I have a weird little mark. Lets me know exactly where it goes. Part of me wants to wait to glue this piece on until I have everything together. Because if this is off, nothing's going to fit properly. Because the cylinder body, or the cylinders are spaced so if it's perfectly here. I suppose I have enough adjustment there. We'll glue it on. That way we can start finishing the body. This is probably the weakest point in the entire gun because there's really nothing holding everything in place. It's a weird design. The fact that there's a gun in the fantasy game anyway is just kind of weird, but it is what it is. I glued to it pretty quick. I should have printed these two as one piece. Because I have a left and a right, I could have easily bonded this to that, so it would have been one solid piece. Hindsight, right? I'm gonna let it do its thing and give it another half an hour. See you then. On to finishing. At least a little bit. So everything that is glued onto here is glued onto here. Except for the trigger. The trigger I glue on afterwards because no matter how many times you tell someone, don't pull the trigger, they pull the trigger. And I like it easily detachable and reattachable. So I'm just going to take some body fill, cover the whole thing. I'm using Bondo brand glazing putty, not sponsored. But you know, it's what I use because I really like the product. It's a super light coat over the whole thing. It's always something. No matter how many times I'm like, I've got everything I need. Always something. That's better. So I know there are people who are like, no, you're supposed to use Bondo, not glazing putty. I have too small of detail to go over, mix up a bunch of Bondo and make it, right? And coat everything in it. If I use glazing putty, there's enough contours and edges that Bondo doesn't really work very well. If I were doing a helmet, I'd use, you know, just standard body fill Bondo. Because this stuff does work amazing. It's a little stronger than this, but it's not really designed for small detail parts, which is what I'm using glazing putty for. I'm probably going to end up doing 2 coats of the glazing putty. I'm going to sand in between each coat, of course, just to make sure, you know, everything stays smooth and I keep all my details. There's a lot of detail that's not on this yet. I haven't decided whether I'm going to FDM print it or resin print it, because all the filigree done in resin is going to look fantastic. I may do that instead. We shall see. So this is definitely going to need multiple coats because of the big gap. Nice thing about my camera, when it shuts off, it makes a noise. So I can usually hear and then come back and turn it back on. So I am absolutely not trying to do a perfect job right away. Just trying to fill everything in as best I can, especially since I know I'm doing multiple coats. A bunch of little coats are always better than one just super thick coat. At some point in time, I'm sure Kim and I are going to make the set of metal, and that's going to be an interesting video. So we're going to give that some time to do its thing. I'm going to do, now I'm not putting any Bondo here because this is where the hinge rests, but I can do all along the barrel. When I designed this, it was super important to me that the barrels all be separate. You can still see all the way down them, which I like, but I don't think it's as important that it just be 3 separate barrels. I probably could have modeled it to look separate and just be one big piece. That would make, if I wanted to say, make a mold, it would make it way easier than what I would have to do now. But I'm probably not going to make a mold of this because the number of people who would need a Cerberus from Final Fantasy VII is very limited. Not enough that it would justify making a mold. I do believe I've completely ripped through my glove on 2 fingers now. Gloves are cheap. Replace them often. Guess now we just let things dry. I mean, I could cover these. I guess I could cover these. I believe this tube of a glazing putty may be done. Well, mostly. Kind of wish I could just dip it. Entertainingly. I did design bullets for this too, but they were tiny. They were like 4mm, right? Never printed them because they, I don't think they would have fit very well, but I did model them. Now it's time for the new tube. The guy at the auto parts store said it's the same stuff, just different tube. I don't think it is. It's not responding nearly as well as the other stuff did. But we'll see. Much harder. Not nearly as viscous. Or more viscous. More viscous, not nearly as fluid. Sorry. I'm backwards from it. I'm going to carve out all the detail back as soon as everything dries, which is why I'm not terribly worried about everything. I'm just covering it. So this is going to be a much longer term project than normal. There are no real definitive start and stop points. I have to give this at least a day to fully dry. So today is tomorrow. Do light sanding. See where we're at. So there's a little bit of sanding and I can clearly see the seam line is going to need more glazing putty. Everything else should be pretty fine, pretty good. The barrel still looks nice and straight. Yeah, it should be fine. I'm probably gonna have to do a couple more coats. So I'm gonna stop here and leave, do the rest off screen. You don't need to watch me sand. Sanding is unbelievably boring. So next time we're gonna do the dog heads. There's the 3 dog heads, all the scroll work, and getting everything up and ready to paint. So if this is your kind of thing, like and subscribe. If not, thanks for making it to the end. I do appreciate that. Other than that, I really hope to see you next time.